Welcome to Addiction and the Family, Episode 72, The Year in Recovery 2025. Welcome to Addiction in the Family. My name is Casey Arriaga. I am a licensed clinical social worker and addiction counselor at both Windmill Wellness Ranch and Recovery Tree Counseling. I'm the author of several books, including Realistic Hope, The Family Survival Guide for Facing Alcoholism and Other Addictions, and the children's trilogy based on my book, Mommy's Getting Sober. I've been in recovery from my own addiction since 1998, and I've married to someone in recovery. The first 10 years we were in active addiction together, and since then, we've been in recovery together. Join us as we share experience, strength, and realistic hope on how you and your family can learn to grow and recover together. Here we are, the end of another year, and what a year it's been. So as has become our new tradition, we are recording an end of the year special to kind of talk about what the year has been like in recovery. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we're also going to have some special guests on here. We have Brian and Tamara, perennial favorites for our show, and also Robin Scott, who had an amazing episode earlier this year. We want to invite her back to talk about what her year of recovery has been like. So kind of do a wrap up. So we're going to have all of that and more after a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors. Addiction in the Family is brought to you in part by Windmill Wellness Ranch, where I happen to work. We are nestled in the beautiful hill country of Texas, and we've been rated as the #1 treatment center in the United States by the Track 9 independent rating system. And that's based on our ability to bring down addiction relapse rates, anxiety, depression, and also increase optimism, increase resilience, increase people's commitment to recovery. When you see the results, that's what counts. Now, we are so confident of our ability to help people that we offer the Windmill Guarantee. The Windmill Guarantee states that if somebody comes to treatment and does all the stuff that we suggest, and then also does all the follow-up that we suggest, and still needs to come back to treatment within 1 year, they can come back at no cost. If you want to find out more about the Windmill Guarantee and everything else that we have to offer, visit windmillwellnessranch.com or call our admissions line. While I've got your attention, we also offer a free family course to anybody. You don't have to have any association with Windmill, but if you wanted to get a taste of what we offer for families, sign up for a family course at windmillfamilycourse.com. You'll get weekly emails that'll point you towards podcast episodes, blog posts, videos, all kinds of resources that we offer for families. Because as you can imagine, I'm kind of passionate about family work, and I happen to run the family program at Windmill Wellness Ranch. So if you want to see more about that, go to windmillfamilycourse.com and spread the word. Again, anybody, anywhere who needs what we have to offer is free to sign up for the course and get those resources.
Welcome back. Let's jump right in.
Robin, welcome back to the program. So great to have you. I absolutely loved doing an episode with you earlier this year, and so we wanted to invite you back to talk about your year in recovery. What's it been like?
What an honor to be asked back. You know, I love an encore. This past year has been one filled with, like most years, a lot of unexpected twists and turns, some health issues, some wins, some losses, some big changes. I mean, like many years. And it is also a year filled with starting new traditions. Right now, we're living in our apartment while our house is being renovated. So decorating for the holidays means something different.
Well, what's that look like for you? Because that sounds fascinating. I mean, first of all, so you're renovating a house. That's kind of a big deal.
It is. And it sounds like we're really fancy people. We're not. This is a 1910 farmhouse that's also pretty haunted, in my opinion.
Oh, nice.
Bonus.
I think we're really stirring up the spirits by redoing the foundation. So what's happening to our house is also, like, I see metaphors and meaning in everything. Mm-hmm. And the foundation is being completely redone. Plumbing, electrical wiring, expansions, reductions, upgrades. In many ways, that is what's happening in our relationship. It's what's happening within my own body and the somatic healing that I do. Mm-hmm. So I see this as expensive as it is time consuming, requiring a lot of resources and energy. It's also change in a way of celebrating something that can be different, not to make it better necessarily, making it a home that can grow old in and be really comfortable in.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And yeah, the moment you said redoing the foundation, I went like, oh no, I need to ask about that.
Yeah, speaking of metaphors.
Yeah.
That one is amazing. And making the home more comfortable, just all of that just speaks to so much beauty. And I guess on a practical level, coming
Yes.
out of all the family patterns and all the things in our own recovery, where do you see recovery having informed that?
Where do I see it? I see it everywhere. I see it in every element of my life, in the way I move and eat, the work I do, the relationships I have, the relationships that I've let go, the way in which I live my life. And it's not about aesthetics or appearances or image management while allowing more light to come in. That is a big piece of this project. This house that's got these good old bones, haunted ones, that's for another conversation. It's sturdy and yet it needed work. And the issues that I'm having in my body with my shoulder and my spine, I'm like, okay, this has to do with the bones, with the very essence of me, of my life, and what informed a lot of the patterns in my body that have caused dis-ease, illness, where trauma set in. There's only so much I can do. So I can't get rid of it all. I can understand the patterns. I can rewire the patterns, just like we're doing with the electricity. I can address the plumbing issues, like all the GI issues that I've had in my life. So to me, it's beyond parallel. It's almost one and the same.
Yeah, and another metaphor in there, just in what you said, the idea of haunted bones. And I think about, my own, not physical, but metaphorical structure of my body.
Yes.
And the things that have haunted me that I now recognize through my own recovery work and as a therapist and all of that, that I'm the one who took it on and I'm doing the haunting, but I base it on things from the past. And I
Yeah.
heard this really beautiful thing recently. It was more like literature analysis and looking at how we tell stories and talking about something being haunted. And people often associate that with ghosts and the idea that, there's something in the house. But the point this person was making is that haunting had to do more with how much presence something has in your life. And so if somebody is missing from your life, how they may haunt you, whether they're alive or not. So you don't have to believe in ghosts, for instance, to say that this person or this relationship haunts me.
Yeah.
And often, traditionally in literature, that had to do with unresolved business.
Right.
Hamlet's father is hanging out because there's unfinished business. And that's his constant theme is, son, you need to do something because there's unfinished business.
Right.
And so recovery offers this opportunity to finish the business. Because in
That's
Hamlet, it's Shakespeare, you end up with that pile of bodies, right? But our lives don't have to look that way, that we have the opportunity to unhaunt.
this is profound. I remember years ago, before I started doing the level of trauma recovery that I've been doing for the past, let's say, 5 years. This must have been a decade ago. I remember telling someone, I feel haunted. I feel like this home, because I had this spiritual awakening that this body is my home, and yet this structure that I live in is haunted. And it's haunted by stuff not necessarily that I did, that happened. Some of it I remember, some of it I don't. My body certainly remembers. And how do I become unhaunted? And I love how you are putting all of this together, because the work I do, helping people with their presence, which is not about how you look or how to portray things, but it's really about getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and being able to show up for self and for others in a way that is confident, meaning like a ready state of ease in the body, in the vocal patterns. A big part of our project, letting more light into the house. The house had tiny closets and really small windows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we are doing floor to ceiling windows in places, which means there's beams, there's all sorts of stuff going on in that house to let more light in. It reminded me, I don't know it verbatim. A lot of people call it the 11th step prayer. It's the St. Francis prayer, that where there is dark, I may bring light. And connecting this to old holidays and the tradition of going home for the holidays, I did. I brought that light. I brought the comedy and the humor and the listening ear. I brought that joy and silliness and fun. And that is great, except for the fact that often what happened in return was just so much teasing and ridicule and meanness. I used to say, like, 'tis the season for teasing. And it wasn't like everybody teased everybody, it was me. I thought differently. And bringing more light, or with the St. Francis prayer, like, where there's sadness, bring joy, where there's despair, bring hope. The focus used to always be on bringing it to other people, which I do, but to really do it, to do it authentically from a place of grounded recovery, I first got to do it for myself. Like, how do I bring light into these dark places? And not bring it, make space for it, let it in. And that comes from chosen family, friends who are my family, my significant other, his family, and being a part of their traditions. Letting that light in allows me to cast an even brighter one. So that's what's happening in the house. And that's what's happening in my life, in my recovery.
I absolutely love that.
That's beautiful.
One of the things that I want to bring into this interview is you've both spoken really openly about your recovery around food.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a time of year where we are encouraged to completely go overboard with food. And I wonder if you all would be willing to talk a little bit about what that's like and what that's looked like this year in recovery.
Ooh.
I heard an ooh. You take it away. I'm all
I'll
ears,
start.
and then I'm happy to chime in.
We were just talking about this last night. Casey's writing his new book, so of course we're talking about the stuff. And I have a really strong abstinence from sugar, and I feel really great about that. It's changed my life, but my compulsive eating patterns are not perfect. It's very hard to get that one consistently clean without being really strict, which I know people that are a lot more strict with their food plan than I am, and they have a cleaner food plan. I'm somewhere in the middle. And so there are times when I do use food for stress management, depression management. And there are certain food items that are specifically, usually like gluten items and sugar-free items, where if I have it in the house, I'm going to eat too much of it. And so I'll hardly ever have it in the house. But the holidays are one of those times when I'll have certain things in the house. And so, I didn't eat past the point of fullness,
Okay.
which is wonderful. And it took me a long time to get there. But I did eat more than I wanted to, really. There was that moment of, I'm going to have a second piece of the sugar-free pie because I really, really want it. But really, I think what it came down to is my brain was telling me that I needed it. And now my brain is telling me, maybe next year don't do pie. Maybe just no more pie for you. And I hate that. I don't want to give up more stuff, but it's cleaner if I do.
I guess one of the things I'll ask you, and then Raman, I want to hear this for you as well, is kind of year over year, as we're reviewing the year, have you noticed anything change in your relationship with food? So holidays are the obstacle course where you get to really run through this stuff. Family patterns and food are two big places where the holidays bring it.
Ooh, yeah. My relationship with food itself, I don't think it's really changed this year, but my relationship with my body has changed a little bit. And I have not eaten past the point of fullness in kind of a long time. There have been very few instances in the last year where I've eaten past the point of fullness, and it wasn't happening all the time, but I think it's just been like less and less every year. And I'm not sure why it got better this year, but it got a little better this year.
Forgive me for saying so, not my place to judge, but that does sound like a change.
It does sound like a change, but it's been okay. And it's been a very gradual change. And so it's hard to, it's like, right now I'm thinking, it's been a couple of days since Thanksgiving, and I'm still thinking about the fact that I didn't stop on the pie when
Hmm.
I had planned on stopping. And even though I didn't like totally gorge myself and binge, it was like, I could say, yay, me, or I could say, oh, you really blew it. And the truth is, I didn't totally blow it. I certainly didn't blow it the way I used to. And it could have been better. So it's like, okay, well, it's progress. It's progress, not perfection.
Know that one.
That old adage that we've all heard so many times, and it's such an important one.
I'm hearing recognition and compassion for self. I heard a shift in your tone when you talked about consistently clean. And I wonder if there's still something about that has, this is a genuine question. Is there something in there that still has some rigidity or judgment in terms of what clean is for you?
Somewhere in there, there's this idea that my body is supposed to look a certain way. And there is an idea that I should be eating to live, not living to eat. I think that to me, eating to live means I only eat because that's how I live. And I don't think that that's reasonable. That's the idea that I think I've always had about that phrase, you know.
Yeah.
And the idea that there's nothing in between that and living to eat is ridiculous. That's not realistic at all. So I used to live to eat, and I'm closer to eating to live. I judge myself for not eating enough vegetables.
Oh, and by the way, when I chuckle, it's not like ha 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 laughing at you. It's this concept of enough.
Yeah.
Like, am I enough? Am I doing good enough? This
Mm.
I want to like through the ether
Uh,
hold you and hug you and support you in releasing any and all judgment and shame for that second piece of sugar-free pie. Because you and we all know it is not about that pie. That pie holds no power.
Yeah, Kira, you said something there that I want to check. I mean, because you two, as you know, being raised female in our society, I wanted to check, where do you think this message comes from that you should judge yourself by your looks? Because that's just puzzling to me. Okay, I'm being so sarcastic right now.
Look at it. I was like,
where didn't it come from?
Where do I start?
everywhere.
I'm saying conception.
Yeah, body
Birth.
image is its own thing. You don't have to have a compulsive eating problem to have body image issues.
But boy, that
True.
can't help.
And it doesn't help.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Robin, I would love to hear from you. How has the holidays been around that? Anything you want to say or don't want to say about it? But also sort of noticing year over year, do you notice any change in the relationship with food?
Most definitely. And similarly to what's been shared, noticing radical differences in my relationship with my body as a woman in her 50s and what my body is doing and not doing and the shape shift that is happening instead of hating it and trying to make it tiny and small and focusing on the number, on the genes, the size. And I'm not saying none of that's there because it's in there. It's in there from diet culture. It's in there from my disordered eating. And truly, this stuff started in the womb, 100%. Disordered eating and eating disorders, compulsions around food, my body being like sexualized as long as I can remember. Does it look a certain way or is it too big? Like it just was constant, brutal. And then what I did to it, and then went into an industry, being on stage and being on camera where the focus was what I look like and what size clothing. And oh, it was just so much. And so the relationship with my body now, there is so much love and care and focusing on strength from the inside out and not about shrinking it and trying to make it small, and really loving it and appreciating this system, this house, and these old bones and muscles and tendons for all that they do and how they repair. And then my relationship with food, because it's easy to say it's one and the same, and yet it's complex, it's complicated. The principles of recovery are simple, and then the practice of it is not because it's so different for everybody. I turn over my food at the end of the night. And what that means is I send an email to my fellow traveler in ACA who doesn't have the same level of disordered eating and recovery from it. But because we work this program together, she's like, oh, I'm interested in it. If you want to turn over your food, I'd love to be a part of that. And now it's become this nightly routine for us of what I've eaten throughout the day, and not simply about the portions and the sizes. I track my feelings, what was happening, where was I stressed, afraid, also the chaos of life, and the rigidity around my food has really lessened. A lot of it now is intuitive, and there is less shame for whatever these old measures of under or over used to be. I have not eaten past the point of feeling sated in a long time. And as my body shifts, I'm also not under eating or restricting in a way of punishing. And that, look at what my body just did. Like, breathe, sigh, relief. It's really astounding, because Thanksgiving, more than any other holiday, was the one in the family where a lot of traditions were tied to the way the dressing was made, the way the rolls were made, the way this was served, and not just about how it tasted and how it was prepared, but how everything looked. And that is not what Thanksgiving is about for me anymore. And that's a relief.
Great.
Wow, I am so tempted to jump back into metaphor land where like,
You can.
the
What is it?
substance doesn't matter, honey, it's how it looks. And then here we are, all three of us have worked in the entertainment industry, and 2 out of 3 of us have been brutally judged for how we look. And you're the front person out there. I mean, you were the lead singer for all those years, and conversations with record labels and producers, and the look and what can we do, and can she eat a little less? Could she do a few more crunches? And friends that have become anorexic on first major label
I did.
album kind of thing, going to the recording studio and someone has put in a Stairmaster.
Oh.
What is a Stairmaster doing in the recording studio? Are we going to record it?
Oh, I loved it.
That wasn't me. That happened to a friend.
Yeah,
That's awful. I most definitely at times felt almost unrecognizable how small I would get my body and shrink my body and starve. And I was vegan raw for a while, which basically meant, oh my God, did you hear that? Oh, that I was eating goji berries and chewing on chlorophyll tablets, so that when I would burp, people would be like, is that a lawnmower bag in here? Just wild and awful and sad. And then I'd be performing with guys who looked like they just like rolled off their couch, and they were heavy, living in larger, bigger bodies, no problem. But me had to be, getting up to a size 2. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that was really small. It's relentless.
it is. It is. So I'm going to bring it all back around to move towards wrapping up this segment, is looking at rebuilding the foundation. In the holidays here, winter solstice, time of rebirth, time where, like, just like we were talking about, things are getting smaller, the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, and then the turnaround, the recognition, which will have happened just a few days before this episode releases, of the days are getting longer, the light is coming back. I mean, what an incredibly cool thing. And what an incredibly cool thing to be able to share with people in recovery. So on that note, Robin, I'm going to ask, what are a couple of your favorite things in recovery this year?
People, you, the two of you, getting to meet new people and form new relationships, expanding my family of choice, and how that comes from the professional work I do and the recovery work that I do. So people, relationships, that has been and continues to be the greatest blessing for me, is expanding my circle of people who really can, like, are capable of loving and caring about me and for me in the way that I am for them, while releasing the ones who don't. So it's not like cutting all these people off and, oh, well, I'm healthy, but I'm alone. This is like beautiful process of releasing and taking in, kind of like the whole eating thing and like the light in the house. Right now looks like a really murky process with things looking dark, the way beams are down. And we know what's on the other side of this is brighter windows so that we let more light into this life.
That is so beautiful. And yeah, I will say that it has been a pleasure and an honor to meet you and then get to know you better this year. So incredibly cool.
Yes.
Robin, for those of us that did not catch your episode already, give them a quick idea of where they can find you if someone wanted to get a hold of you.
Oh, sure. You can go to thelarapingroup.com. Larapin is spelled Larapyn, for my experiential learning and presence coaching, all that fun work that I do. You can also go to robinlscott.com, and that shows you some of my acting work, my resume, and the work I do as an artist.
And that's Robin with a Y.
That's Robin with a Y.
Why? Because we love you.
Oh, I love it. I haven't heard that one in a while. I love it.
No one will forget if you use that every time, they'll always remember how to spell your name.
So true.
Very nice.
Robin, fantastic having you on here. Enjoy the rest of your holiday season and look forward to talking to you in the new year.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you
Thanks,
too.
you too. Bye-bye.
That seems like a good place to take a break. Let's hear from one of our sponsors.
Among our sponsors, the most important one is you. We're just so grateful for your support on our mission of helping families find recovery. Here are some ways you can help. If you know anyone who could benefit from our message, encourage them to listen and subscribe. Hit that like button. We are so grateful for all of our subscribers on Patreon. So if you were able to support us in that way, we are so incredibly grateful for you. You can also check out any of my books. We've got Realistic Hope, Family Survival Guide for Facing Alcoholism and Other Addictions. We have the trilogy based around my book, Mommy's Getting Sober. Those are children's books, which are great to spread that message. And each one of the books also includes a guide on how to talk to kids about addiction. And also have my book, Spirituality for People Who Hate Spirituality. Please tell a friend, spread the word on social media. Let us know what we can do to help. Feel free to reach out to us. We appreciate each and every one of you. We could not do this without you. Welcome back. All right, let's have our next interview. All right, Brian and Tamara, welcome back to the program. So great to have you guys here. And we're doing our, Year in Recovery 2025. Tell us about it. Give us the year wrap up. What's it been like?
Casey, first of all, thank you for having us on here year after year. I think I mentioned before, this is a holiday staple for us, and we always look forward to coming on the program and just reflecting over the year and like our recovery.
We've had a heck of a year. It's been a really good year. We've had a lot of changes. We bought a house in March. Brian got a new job again. We got a new baby kitten, and we're still working on having a baby. And, like a little bit of everything has been going on. And we are still sober.
Yes. Most importantly, we are still sober, which is a great thing. I'm on year 8 and you're on year
14.
14. And so we've been doing really well. Like she said, it's been so many life changes. Tamara was able to move stores, right? Recovery wise, my program has definitely seen its ups and downs. I always maintain a strong sponsee core, right? I got probably 5 or 6 sponsees right now. I've been doing a lot of virtual meetings. I did quite a few speaker meetings this year. It's like grown folks recovery. It doesn't look the same as when I first came in the rooms, probably when we first interviewed. I'll tell you a quick story. My buddy Mick, he was on year 5 and I might have been on year 1 or 2 at the sober living home. And he wasn't going to that many meetings and he wasn't doing that much for his program. I was kind of silently judging him because I'm doing like 90 meetings a week, H&Is and service work and blah, 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 wild, wild western. And I kind of looked like, what's going on? And then at year 5 and 6, it made sense because recovery kind of takes on a new form, like us using recovery in our relationship, using recovery principles in my decision making at work, using recovery principles when I have tough situations or good situations during change. And so that foundation is still there. But I think in the book it said a much more needed demonstration lies in our homes than our jobs. So yeah, man, things have been really good for us.
And tomorrow, What would you say is your relationship with your recovery at this point?
It's similar to the past couple of years that we've talked. I'm not going to a lot of meetings. Every now and then I'll jump on one of Brian's virtual meetings that he's on, or I'll listen in on it. But I'm not working with any sponsees at this point. Like Brian was saying, if I were 10 years ago, looking at me now, I would be judging myself. But I'm not carrying around a lot of guilt. I would like to go to more meetings. I'm active in my life, and I feel like this is just where I'm at. And so I guess I've come to terms with this is where I am right now, and I'm focusing a lot more on my mental health. Brian and I had actually gone to a couple of counseling sessions this year together. I guess I'm focusing more on just living a healthy life sober.
So maybe if we look at the idea that recovery is not just about chemical use or addiction, if we look at recovery in a big picture of recovering from mental health issues, recovering from trauma, recovering from all of these things. And I talk about this a lot with my clients. I say, hey, I'm going to use the word recovery. And I know like 90% of the room is going to assume that I mean alcohol and other drugs. But when I talk about recovery, I'm talking about recovering from all the stuff we've been through, messages we've given ourselves, all those kinds of things. Then maybe the picture of what being in recovery or working on recovery changes a little bit. And I wonder if that connects for you. And could you talk about how that looks for you this year?
100% that connects with me. We've gone through so many changes and so much growth this year. One of the reasons we moved actually was for my mental health. I'm still with the same company, but we lived at an apartment at one of the stores. And so we discussed it together and we determined the best thing would be for us to move. It was just too much. I was too stressed and too much anxiety. It was a heck of a process to get this house, and it took months. There were a couple of times when I almost gave up and I said, we need to just get an apartment and get out of here. I can't do this anymore. But everything worked out. I got a new boss who's really focused, and he put me at a different store that's like out in the country, and it doesn't have the same level of issues that I had at the first store. So it's like I took a whole level of trauma out of my life. And then just having a house and everything, it's been so much fun. It's so exciting. So I've really, in the months since we got the house, I've really just kind of been breathing and just kind of been settling in and settling into this new store and this new manager and this new type of life. And we're doing a lot more things with our family. My mom was here last week. We had family over for Thanksgiving. I feel like just being able to make those wise decisions together, to talk it through and to just make smart decisions in our life has been really, really helpful. And a lot of that is, just us being sober and sane, and we're able to look at the things that really matter.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Her mental health kind of eroded to a point where we had to do something. It wasn't will we, it was like, okay, once we made the decision, it was just a matter of putting everything together, which you can imagine was very, very stressful. Yeah, we definitely leaned on. I think she has one of her sponsees who's one of her friends now. You do have a couple of sponsees that just grown in their program, and she leaned on her circle and church family, and we kind of got through it. I will again echo what she said. Anytime that something like this happens, our go-to, as we've been, I say, good programming, is not the drink, the bottle, or bad coping or fighting with each other. First, we pray about it and say, how can we use our skills, our coping strategies, and things we learned in the program to do this successfully? Now, I will say this, neither of us have had any cravings or craziness going on for years. And so we're kind of spoiled by it. And I definitely want to make sure that we stay vigilant and that we stay on top of our program.
Right on. And tomorrow, if I can ask, I love hearing like the self-care and the external changes you've been able to make for your mental health. And I guess I'd ask, are there things that you find yourself doing on a day-to-day basis internally for your mental health?
Some of the simplest things are if I've had a rough day or a hard time, I'll come home and he'll put me on my charger, which is which is basically he'll tuck me into bed and the cats will come and hang out with me and I'll watch a little show on my laptop. And he'll be downstairs doing his own thing, so I'll get time to just breathe and relax without having to worry about anything going on in the world. That makes a world of difference. I'm a serious overthinker. And so I find a lot of time, especially when I'm at work, it's a much slower pace where I'm at. And so I have a lot of free time. And so I'll talk myself through scenarios. I know I have certain habits that are not good. I'll take on too many tasks and get overwhelmed and I'll feel that anxiety creeping up. And so in my mind, I'll have to slow things down. I'll write a list out to get the stuff out of my head. I'll go to YouTube and turn on some like study music or something like that to just kind of calm me down. If I have really bad anxiety, I'll do like a little meditation. So there's little things I do just to, I guess, give myself a break.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I'm looking at. I'm hearing like prayer, meditation, thoughtfulness, doing things to help yourself relax, learning good self-care routines. And where I was going with that, because I'm not here to grill you on like, are you doing enough, anything like that, but more exploring how recovery might evolve over time. In your case, evolving more like, okay, what do I need to do for my mental health? Yes, I need to stay sober. That's important for my mental health. I don't do that, everything else falls apart. But I also do need to do these acts of self-care that maybe I wasn't doing before, and process things and write things out and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if you look at it from that lens, no way to know for sure, but you 10 years ago, if you weren't just saying, oh, I'm not going to meetings anymore so much, but I am doing all these things for my mental health, do you think you'd still be judging yourself as much?
If I were looking at myself from 10 years ago, looking at the strides I'm actually making,
Yeah.
I don't think I would be.
We might say, well, my recovery routine and the things that I do today don't look the way they used to.
Yes.
Me 10 years ago in recovery might not have understood that, but if I could sit down and say, well, look, here's what I am doing. These are the things I do now that I didn't know how to do 10 years ago. Then maybe there's not so much judgment around it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the story of falling off recovery. It's like recovery routines changing. But what I don't hear is you saying at any point, well, I just stopped working on myself and who knows what's going to happen.
I guess to that point, I'm actually evolving.
Check that out.
Thanks, Casey.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just take a couple more seconds here. Maybe each of you just check in, and with that maybe larger lens of what recovery looks like in your life, what would you say have been your favorite things in recovery this year?
When I first got sober, I had all these ideas of why I'm getting sober. And for me, that was to stay free and not do drugs and not go to jail. There's a definite correlation between doing drugs and going to jail in my life. And I did not want to do that. And so staying free was a baseline. And when I eclipsed that, I said, you know what? When I got a job, and it was a good job, and I said, this is what I got sober for. When my mom had cancer and I was able to go up and be with her and be there for her, I was like, man, that's why I got sober, to do this. And so I think you used the word evolve, in the evolution of what my sobriety looks like today, and what are the highs today are way different than what they were years ago. And one of my highs this year was my dad, he fell kind of ill this year. And it was over the past couple months. And so I actually flew back and forth. He was in DC. I flew back and forth to DC maybe 3 to 5 times. Tamar came with me. Like, it was almost every weekend, with the exception of a couple. We were in DC with him. And I was just thinking, one, if I wasn't sober, this wouldn't be happening. Two, if I was locked up, this would not be happening. Three, if I didn't have the type of job that affords me these type of luxuries, this would not be happening. And those are all gifts of recovery. The job, me being sober, and me being free are all gifts of working a program of recovery and coming to this point. When you ask me what was it's like being able to be there for my father when he needed me and being an asset to the family. Not just showing up and just saying, good job, Brian, you're here, but being there and actually able to stay with him in the hospital, help my mom with little chores, run errands for them, help him with his ADLs, which is his activities of daily living. Just going through the life cycle of a son to a parent and being able to be present for that honor. Last night we were hanging out. I was in Austin with him. I was helping him get dressed, and he said, "Man, I'm sorry, man, I was taking so long." I said, "Dad, this is an honor." I said, "I'm honored to be able to do this for you." So it's not a burden. It's not something that I have to do. It's like I'm able. I think that's what they talk about, being present, not just being in the space to be in a present mind, but being of use to my family. That's been the highs of like my life through like a recovery lens, right? Of course, like the house and all that stuff. That's cool, but like being able to be there and just show up for like him, show up for my wife, just because I wasn't that guy years back. So I never want to just forget that and be like, oh, this is like a norm. This is well outside of my normal, right? And if you look at my entire life, and so this is a very special year for us. 25 has been a really special year for me and tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what would you say has been one of your highlights in recovery this year?
Honestly, it's the same as Brian's. Just being able to show up for our family and just being able to really build on our relationships. Around May or June of this year, I went on a road trip to Florida with his mom and his cousin and her two little girls. And we had a blast. And, just being able to take the time away from work and just to prioritize family. And, we've been down to the coast so many times to visit my mom. Brian goes down there without me sometimes and just he helps her with stuff around the house. My sister's moving down there. And so, being able to see her, and we were able to have my brother and his wife over for Thanksgiving, and really just being able to show up for our family in a positive way and just to build on those relationships. That has been the biggest highlight for me.
For sure. And I want to brag on tomorrow a little bit. And I want to kind of segue that into like a little bit of like perspective shifts due to our program and looking at life in a different way. So this past Thanksgiving, Tamar's friend unfortunately had one of her sons pass away. And the other son was down here in San Antonio on one of the military bases. And Tamar's been really making an effort to show up for this young man, get him off base, right? Give him some family experiences while he's so far from home, right? And so this past Thanksgiving, he came over with
3 other people from Lackland.
from Lackland Air Force Base. And they came over and we had this Thanksgiving. It was great, man. And the perspective shift was Tamara's well advanced when it comes to like maturity and just seeing things. She's just well ahead of me in these things. And my language was, man, we're going to have these 18, 19-year-olds. They're going to eat us out of house and home. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so much. And I didn't mean it. I was just complaining just to be an old man and complain. I really wasn't worried about it. But then I started to change my language and say, you know what? We get the opportunity to host some young people who do not otherwise get to have a Thanksgiving family experience. They're probably missing their families, right? But Tamara had that perspective all along. She already had that. She was like light years ahead of me in that thinking. So I want to give kudos to my wife. And that was another highlight because she has a servant heart and it was really good.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. All right, we'll wrap up with that. Thank you both so much for coming back on the program, and I'm sure I'll see you before this time next year, but we'll be sure to keep having you on. Thanks so much.
Man, thank you, Casey. Later.
So yeah, we're going to talk about Are You in Recovery? It's our turn now. So 2025, what a year, right?
It was.
In recovery for me, let's see, I went through the 12 steps again. As always, kind of an amazing journey. I feel like I got closer to my higher power. I got closer to myself, learned some things, noticed some fears and insecurities coming up, things that, as happens in recovery, I'll think like, oh, that's kind of put to bed. We're good at that. Don't need to worry about that one anymore. And then, of course, as one of my old piano teachers would say about bad piano habits, it comes back like a mold. It's like, you think it's gone, creeps back in. So I noticed some of that, and, going through the steps brought some of that to light. But I also got to see myself in a more loving light, which is something I advocate for anybody. And I know that whether it's Smart Recovery, Recovery Dharma, 12-step, like whatever direction you go in, they all encourage self-examination. But I like to think they all also encourage self-love, although I'd like to hear your perspective on that because you're a trained smart facilitator. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess it does. There's the bit on Unconditional self-acceptance. It doesn't use the L word, but yeah, I think it does encourage that.
Some people are kind of scared about the L word.
Yeah.
That's skittish.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
it's
really sure what to
skittish.
do with that.
Yeah, when you said it, I almost bolted.
Almost lost her. She ran off camera.
Yeah, almost left.
Yeah. So my point being that I did find through self-examination more self-love. And, when I first got into recovery, I thought it was all about just beating myself up and figuring out every negative thing about myself and then trying to get rid of that. And it turned out to not be about any of that. I mean, yes, there's definitely self-examination that involves seeing things that aren't that pleasant to look at. I got to see some spots where I was manipulative towards you that I wouldn't have thought. I thought like, no, I just show up as a beautiful, loving, gentle soul. And it turns out that yes, there's still that part of me that says, maybe if I phrase this just right, she'll do what I want.
Yeah, you still do a little of that.
So that was really good in recovery. Work at Windmill has continued to go really well. Work in my private practice has gone really well. And I say all of that because that's all part of my recovery. In fact, without recovery, I wouldn't have anything I have in my life if I was even still alive. But I can say for sure that the last time I was going through the steps led to me opening up my private practice and then being able to go through the steps again really just changed my relationship to it. Took away some of the fear, left me in a more position of just feeling like, all right, it's going to be whatever my higher power wants it to be. People show up, people don't show up, whatever it is, it's going to be okay. But some of my favorite parts are where I feel like it's helped deepen our relationship, take pressure off of things. As I move out of fear more, it leaves more room for us to just be in a loving position. I'll speak for myself to just come from a loving position. So that's kind of like my overview. And of course, we want to talk about various things, but Kara, I'd love to hear from you. Kind of what's your year in recovery been like?
I'm already really good at that stuff that he was talking about, the unconditional love and being loving all the time, no matter what. I'm really good at that. But where I struggled a lot and had to do a lot of work was codependency. That is the downside of being a naturally loving person. Codependents are very loving people usually. Not exclusively, but usually very, very loving people. And the downside is that we can let ourselves get walked on and manipulated and all that kind of stuff. 3+ decades of marriage and you're still manipulating me. There's a reason for that because it was still working. I was still letting that happen. But, my mother is my main qualifier for my Al-Anon program. Not an alcoholic, not an alcoholic, doesn't have to be an alcoholic. I got plenty of alcoholics in my life. My mom is just my mom, very different. Got a personality disorder that is hard for me to deal with and some brain damage, which makes all the hard work she did in her life less effective. I'll give you an example. Casey and myself and our daughter were talking about Thanksgiving, and our daughter was saying she was dreading it. And I said something like that. Oh, yeah, so am I. And Casey was very surprised because he was doing Thanksgiving for me, and I was doing Thanksgiving for my mom, and my daughter was doing Thanksgiving for me. And so everybody's doing it for me except for me, and I'm doing it for my mom. And so we changed it up a little. We had a little 3-person Thanksgiving a week before Thanksgiving, and then we took photo over to my mom's. Our daughter did not come. She didn't want to. We had the best time we possibly could. And later we were talking about it, and I was realizing, yes, it's hard for me to be with my mom. Yes, I still love her and want to be there for her. But the real thing about it is she gave me a lot of really good Thanksgivings. She gave me a lot of really good 4th of Julys. Those were the 2 big ones that she really got right. So she used to have like a big house full of people and it was potluck and we'd all bring lots of food and all that kind of stuff. She always felt like the queen of the castle and she didn't need anything from me really. And now she doesn't feel like the queen of the castle and I want to be there for her, but I tend to bend over backwards way too far and hurt myself.
And this is where I tend to jump in and decide, okay, well, I'm going to protect her from her mom while she's desperately trying to make things better for her mom. And so that led to a little bit of tension and conflict, but we worked it out.
We did.
And I guess I want to ask, so through all of that, where did you see your recovery show up and where did you see growth in yourself?
One of the places that my recovery showed up was being willing to have a conversation with you and Jessica, our daughter, beforehand. I desperately wanted to curl up in a little ball under the covers and succumb to depression and avoid conflict, which I'm very good at. But I didn't do that. We had the conversation. And the other thing was when we went to my mom's, Casey said at one point, while one of our friends was busy putting together a recliner for my mom, don't ask. He said to my other friend and myself, "Hey, there's a perfectly nice table and chairs outside the apartment. We could go out there for a little bit." And we did. We spent like 15 minutes just chatting. And then we went back in. So I got to have breaks.
And I'll say for me, my recovery showed up through all of that in being just open and honest. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm not looking for. And being able to have a conversation with the family, just within our little nuclear family, of saying, what's the experience you want to have in Thanksgiving? What are we trying to do here? And not just assume we're on the same page or assume we're trying to do the same thing, because it turned out we weren't. But we got to work through that. And then I got to show up. To be perfectly honest, one of my Step 9 amends, for those who aren't as familiar with the program, Step 9 is where you make amends to anyone that you've harmed. And what I found is that I was creating tension in the relationship, both with you and with your mom and with myself, by maybe thinking or saying unkind things about your mom. And so one of my commitments as part of my recovery was to only think and speak kindly of your mother. And so we both got to go kind of into this emotional children of addictive family patterns and dysfunctional family patterns. We got to go through this like obstacle course, which Thanksgiving often is for people, and instead see, can we do it differently? And the fact is, it turned out that we could. And nobody got super triggered. Nobody went down the tubes. Nobody blew up. We were able to find our way through that. And in there for me was partly working to let go of the results. Say, I'm show up and do my best, but you're going to do however you're going to do. She's going to do however she's going to do. How's my daughter, who's 29 years old? She's not just a little kid, but how's she going to do being at home by herself through this holiday? All these things. The answer turned out to be, we can be okay.
Yeah, letting go of the outcome is one of the big ones in recovery.
Absolutely. So what are some other things you've noticed in recovery this year for yourself?
I stand up for myself better. I'm still getting used to that dynamic. Even though I'm married to Casey, he's very respectful of me. I'm not used to the firm part. I'm not used to just standing up for myself. One thing about recovery is it never stops. There's always going to be something coming up where I'll say, God, I thought I had this handled, or I didn't even know this was a problem. And now that I see it, I can see it going all the way back. It's like, oh, way back there, this has been a problem my whole life. And yet I'm just now seeing it in my 50s.
Yeah, I 100% relate to that. Through recovery, which for me includes 12-step work, daily prayer meditation, it includes doing therapeutic work, all this kind of stuff. Between all those things, I'm finding stuff that goes back to like infancy and finding that not only can I see it, but I can start to address it. It's never that it's completely gone, but it's like the volume gets turned down, and it's so cool. And then getting to see where that ripples out within the family. One of the things I'm super proud of with our family that we got to see in action for both of us and our daughter this year is just that growth spirit and that idea that we are all willing to look at things, talk about things, address them. And I just feel incredibly blessed to have that in my life. Anything else jump out from this year? What would you say be your highlights for recovery this year?
I'm just so much more optimistic than I used to be. And I have experienced strength and hope to give to my clients, my sponsees, anybody that hears me talk at a meeting or who I have a conversation with about program, about recovery. I can put that out there and they actually see it. And I think I went a long time without putting that kind of energy out consistently. And now, even when I'm in depression, even when I'm not doing well, I still have stuff that I can give and say, yeah, I am going through it right now and it is ever so much better than it used to be. This is going to pass. It always does. I'm not going to die. I used to think it was going to kill me every time. The depression was just, oh, I may not make it this time. And I don't feel that way anymore.
That is one of my favorite blessings in recovery this year, is just seeing you happier and more resilient. And I tend to come off as happy and resilient, but also recognizing within myself more emotional resilience and more of a sense of safety. It's pretty cool. So that makes me pretty optimistic for the next year. Can't wait to see what it brings, and we'll be sharing it with all of you. All right. See you soon.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Addiction and the Family. This program is recorded, produced, written, floor swept, the whole bit by myself and my wife, Kira. Just so happy to have you with us. If you'd like, you can always look us up on Facebook. We are tweeting on Twitter, really calling it these days. And we can be found on Instagram, we can be found on Blue Sky, we can be found on Pinterest. So visit caseyauthor.com and just know that we are so appreciative of you and your support. Hit that like and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Feel free to email us anytime at addictionandthefamily@gmail.com. Take care till next time.